Hey, how's it going? This is James P. White from 95.7 Cruise FM, The Locker Room, the Jedi Jimmy podcast, and welcome to the Jedi Jimmy podcast. This is what I'm doing right now. I am so excited. It's the Book of Boba Fett, Episode 7, In the Name of Honor. Wow, sit back, relax. This shit's getting real. It was actually the first thing that we find out. It was the Pikes that killed the Tuskens, not the Nikito gang, bike gang, who Boba Fett took out. Why did they take them out? Because they wanted to put a toll on the Dune Sea when they were trying to export the spice. Wow, that's brutal. Now, Grogu, who does he choose? He chose Mando, baby. He chose Mando. He was wearing the armor, the chainmail armor that he made for him, and R2-D2 flying the X-Wing that belongs to Luke Skywalker, dropped him off in Mos Eisley to take him to Mando. So exciting. As soon as I saw the X-Wing pull up, I knew Mando, baby. Here we go. Mando, Season 3, that's going to be in there. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Now, here we go. All the families that the Boba Fett actually did the treaty with, they all turned on him. They're all a bunch of a-holes. Now, one thing that I've really caught on about this episode is Fennec Shand is a very strong, opinionated. You know, they said at the beginning of when the war was going to get started that they needed brains as well as brawn, and she's both. She actually talks Boba Fett out of a lot of things throughout the series. I have a feeling that she's going to get a series of her own. I kind of hope she does, but we'll have to see. Again, one of my predictions later on. So, the battle over Mos Espa at the beginning, when they separated forces and you had the scooter gang going to one area and then everybody all over the place. The Gamorreans were thrown off a cliff. That was intense. But the battle between with Fett and Mando against the Pikes was 6 kinds of awesome. Like, holy wow. I don't know what else to say. The soldiers that actually came from Free City when Cad Bane said they're not coming because we shot the sheriff. They came. Why? Because they shot the marshal. Because of that, we got a war. Now, the battle's going. Then we have the Scorpio Neck droids. Wow, like these things are intense. Like the battle between them, they're basically battle droids on steroids with shields and everything. They couldn't, not even the Darksaber could cut through the shield. So what does Boba Fett do? Goes and gets the most badass creature on the planet, the Rancor. That battle was amazing. He was beating the hell out of the shield, grabbing the droids, throwing them all over the place. So badass. I peed a little. Now, then there was the fight between Cad Bane and Boba Fett. Whew. And then they started. That was awesome. Then Cad Bane brought up the fact that he basically trained him. Boba Fett and the Cad Bane actually met during the Clone Wars when Boba Fett was a kid. So it was shortly after the death of his dad, Jango Fett. And that, again, brought in a lot of a link to the past, a lot of nerd stuff. So awesome. Now, who won? None other than Boba Fett and his crew. Like, there was the people from Freetown that came to help out because of the fact that Cad Bane did shoot the marshal. Awesome. But then, after winning the day, the Rancor kind of lost control because Boba Fett wasn't with him at this point, controlling him, and he went King Kong on Mos Espa. He was climbing buildings and throwing things. Who comes to save the day but Grogu? His powers have gone nuts. He's got control over everything. He actually connected with him on a force level to both calm him down and allow him to sleep. And then, of course, Grogu takes a nap. Why not? He's still young. I love this episode. So great. And then the battle ends. And then what do you see? Fennec Shan going in and not only killing all the Spice Runners from the Pike group and the head of the Pikes, but also all the family heads that turned on Boba Fett. She killed them too. Why not? So the end, after all of that, shows the whole town of Mos Espa showing Boba Fett the respect that he deserved as the daimyo. He was a little bit uncomfortable by it, but it was so cool. I loved this episode. I loved this series. And wow. Now, so after all that ended, Mando and Grogu left in the starfighter. And Grogu is still a kid. Remember that. He kept trying to get Mando's attention to go into super mode in the fighter to fly super fast. So cool. I love that fighter. I'm pretty sure he's getting a better ship soon, but so cool. Especially if he's going to start bounty hunting. He needs some place to put the bounties. Now, the after credits scene was quite impressive. Because remember, I mentioned earlier that Cobb Vanth, the marshal, was shot, but the after credit scene is him in the bacta tank. So excited. There's going to be a season 2. You know that there's going to be a Mandalorian season 3 with Grogu. Could you imagine Grogu as a Mandalorian Jedi, baby? Jedi. So cool. Half Yoda, half Mandalorian, all Jedi. Holy wow. Okay, now, predictions that I have going forward. I've already said season 2 of the Book of Boba Fett. there will be a time in the Book of Boba Fett where the Bad Batch does show up. Why do they show up? Because Boba Fett's sister, Omega, who is an exact clone of Jango Fett, just a female version, they have to be introduced. She knows about him, but he doesn't know about her, as far as I know. Now, also, Grogu is going to be the Mandalorian Jedi in Season 3, very similar to Tar Vizsla, the original Mandalorian Jedi, who himself created the Darksaber. Now, I'm not sure if this is a prediction, but I hope it happens. We need to see more about Fennec Shand, either as her own series. There has to be her own series. She's pretty cool. Like, she's a badass assassin and so awesome. Mistakes I've made from the previous episode to this one is the war did happen in this episode. I predicted it was going to be in Season 2 of the Book of Boba Fett. There was no Han Solo, no other bounty hunters. I was hoping for Bosk. I was hoping for IG-88, but that didn't happen. But still, awesome. As I do every episode, my favorite quotes. I'm going to run through them all. Episode 1, Jabba ruled with fear. I intend to rule with respect. Episode 2, fate sometimes steps in and to rescue the wretched. Episode 3, take it from an ex-bounty hunter. Don't work for scugholes. Episode 4, you could only go so far without a tribe. He found his tribe. Persistence without insight will lead to the same outcome, the armorer. And that was in episode 5. Episode 6, get up. Always get up. That was a quote from Luke Skywalker to Grogu. This episode, I actually have 2 favorite quotes. If that's not a quacta calling a stifling slimy, that was Cad Bane. I just found that one really funny. And we will both die in the name of honor. And that was a quote from Mando. My next episode, I will actually do a complete series breakdown of things that happened, things that are going to happen, and it's going to get real. Now, I need to give a huge thank you to my sponsors. The Dean Blundell podcast network on deanblundell.com, and my good friend Army Chris for Fire for Effect Productions. He not only has all the great equipment that I use for my podcast, but he helps me edit it. A huge thank you to him. I look forward to seeing you in the future. What can go wrong?